One thunderous dunk fooled everyone into thinking this would be easy. Justin Brownlee soared through the air in Jeddah, threw down an alley-oop that had Filipino fans losing their minds. And for exactly 30 seconds, it looked like Gilas Pilipinas was about to dominate Chinese Taipei. The arena was shaking, flags were waving everywhere, and social media was already exploding with highlights. But what happened in the next 4 minutes would expose everything wrong with Philippine basketball and leave thousands of fans walking out in stunned silence. The collapse started immediately after that highlight reel moment. While Filipino supporters were still celebrating Brownlee's spectacular slam, Chinese Taipei quietly began destroying every defensive scheme Gilas had prepared. This wasn't random luck or a few contested shots falling their way. This was systematic annihilation. 10 straight points came first, then 15, then 20. The Philippines couldn't buy a bucket, no matter what they tried. CJ Perez was forcing impossible shots, Dwight Ramos looked completely lost, and AJ Edu was getting pushed around like he'd never played professional basketball. Every possession became a nightmare. Every defensive rotation was a step too slow, and suddenly that electric opening energy had vanished completely. 27-16 after just one quarter, the deficit was already crushing, and this was supposed to be their easiest game.
Brownlee wasn't backing down from the physical punishment Chinese Taipei was dishing out, but it was destroying his body and his team's chances. Every drive to the basket came with elbows to the ribs. Every screen involved getting grabbed and held. Yet the referees seemed determined to let everything slide. Teammates watched helplessly as their leader absorbed contact that should have hospitalized regular players, but Brownlee kept demanding the ball and attacking relentlessly. He scored 8 straight points for Philippines, hit clutch jumpers when nobody else could even get open, and even nailed a half-court buzzer beater that temporarily fooled everyone into thinking a comeback was possible. But individual heroics can only mask systematic failures for so long. Then Chinese Taipei unleashed their secret weapon that absolutely nobody saw coming. Ying Chen turned into a certified three-point assassin, drilling shots from distances that would be considered bad selection in pickup games. Every time Gilas managed to cut into the deficit, Chen would casually step back and bury another triple that crushed Filipino dreams instantly. 29 points by the final buzzer, most from beyond the arc, exactly when Philippines desperately needed defensive stops. His teammate Robert Hinton was bullying Filipino big men inside, while their point guard carved up defenses with perfect ball movement. Suddenly, this Chinese Taipei squad looked like they'd been planning this upset for months, executing with machine-like precision while Philippines scrambled to find any answers.
The most shocking storyline was Kevin Quiambio's emergence from complete obscurity. Coach Tim Cone had kept him glued to the bench for most of the game until Brownlee picked up his 4th foul and desperation set in. Quiambio stepped onto the court like he'd been waiting his entire career for this moment. 9 points in 6 minutes. 3-pointers that swished when they mattered most. Step-back jumpers that had Chinese Taipei scrambling to adjust their entire defensive scheme. For those brief minutes, it looked like this unknown player might single-handedly save Philippines from international embarrassment. The crowd started chanting his name. His teammates found him with passes they wouldn't normally attempt, and suddenly, Gilas had discovered a weapon nobody had scouted. But championship-level teams find ways to close out games when their backs are against the wall, and Chinese Taipei proved they belonged in that category. Every time Philippines cut the lead to something manageable, every time Filipino fans started believing in miracles again, Chinese Taipei had the perfect response ready. Another 3-pointer from an unexpected player, another perfectly executed set that resulted in an easy basket, another defensive stop that killed Philippine momentum completely. They played like a team that absolutely refused to let this golden opportunity slip away, no matter how much pressure Philippines applied or how loud the crowd became.
The 4th quarter was supposed to be redemption time.
Brownlee came back despite foul trouble, ready to drag his team to victory through pure willpower. Quiambio kept hitting impossible shots that brought the deficit to single digits. Scotty Thompson showed flashes of his championship pedigree. For precious minutes, it felt like one of those legendary comebacks was brewing. Philippines cut it to 6 points, then 5, and Chinese Taipei actually looked nervous for the first time all game. but every surge was met with an immediate response that prevented any real momentum from building. The final buzzer confirmed what everyone already knew but didn't want to accept. 95-87, another loss to Chinese Taipei, another early tournament stumble, and another round of serious questions about whether Filipino basketball can compete when everything is on the line. This wasn't just one bad game or lucky shooting by opponents. This was the second time in 6 months that Chinese Taipei had outplayed, outcoached, and out-executed Philippines in meaningful competition. The problems were systematic. Gilas couldn't handle their three-point volume, couldn't match their ball movement, and relied too heavily on Brownlee's individual brilliance instead of developing sustainable team concepts.
What made this loss truly devastating was how it exposed fundamental flaws that no amount of talent could overcome. Philippines entered with legitimate championship aspirations, months of preparation, and a roster built specifically for this moment. But Chinese Taipei revealed that superior individual talent means nothing without tactical discipline and collective execution. Their three-point defense was porous. Their offensive sets became predictable under pressure, and their bench depth disappeared when games got physical. Most concerning, they seemed incapable of making meaningful adjustments when their initial game plan clearly wasn't working. The psychological damage might be even worse than the actual defeat. Brownlee looked exhausted and frustrated, wondering if his superhuman efforts would ever be enough. His teammates seemed deflated, questioning whether they belonged on the same court as teams that executed with such precision. The crowd that had been deafeningly loud after that opening dunk filed out in heartbroken silence. This wasn't just another loss. This was a wake-up call that Philippine basketball still has serious work to do before they can call themselves legitimate contenders. And with tournament formats being unforgiving, there's no guarantee they'll get another chance to prove they belong among Asia's elite.